in this video, I'm going to sort of compare the photos and give you the rundown on the Nikkor 55mm F1.2. Okay, this is about a 50-year-old lens. We're gonna talk about sort of what I found with the characteristics of it. I've shot it on mirrorless, I've shot it on film. Should you buy it? Should you hold out and get the 50 F1.2, which is a lot more expensive? That's the reason I went for this one. And I'll give you the lowdown on that. Now, usually this is a business channel, so I'm just trying something new and just integrating some of my hobbies, which happen to be photography, surfing, and a couple of other things. And I know when I was buying these lenses, I was always looking for trusted reviews and people who would give the details that I wanted to know about it. So for example, like starting out, this lens is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, it's the aperture ring, the feel on it. I love the scallop focusing of this, right? Some of the newer ones, like the 28 here. I've got the FE2. Okay, so this is what I'm shooting it on. I've also shot on the Nikon F. I have that as well. So if you look at it like compared to the 28, which is also a beautiful lens, the nice big front element. That's the cool thing about these. They always have the cool, like the gorgeous front elements, Look at the colors on these. Isn't that awesome? So the thing is, this one is cool. It's very much like the ZF. Okay, this is like a lot of these AIS lenses and even some of the D lenses. They kind of have that look, right? They're like the 40mm that they made for the ZF. But the 55 1.2 is older, and it's heavier, of course, and that huge front element. And what I found is that I think my biggest finding that I can relay to you is if you shoot it wide open, you are going to get a very low contrast. And on this film camera, it will be like near impossible to hit focus. But to me, that doesn't matter. I don't really care. It's like you shoot film and it's close to focus, it's good enough. It has character, right? It's going to be really hard though, but I can still hit it, especially when right now, I don't have the right focusing screen. I've got the K2 type on my Nikon F, which is like the split image, and that's really good. This one, for whatever reason, didn't come with that. I don't even know what type of focusing screen it's got. It's like, it's got a little circle in there that doesn't help you focus. So I've ordered the K2, and I think that'll help me, but you still got to tell your kid to sit still for like 10 seconds, which is impossible for most kids. To manually get this, because your depth of field is like this big, okay? I'm not kidding you either, when you're at like 1.2, because it's 55mm as well, right? So it's a little longer than your typical, say 50mm that you might be shooting, which is pretty traditional for these. And the focus on this particular one is pretty tight, okay? And it comes out just a tad, not much at all. Now, what I've noticed, the biggest takeaway from this lens is that if you stop it down just a tiny bit to 1.4, right there, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, yeah, you can see it. You go to 1.4, it picks up a lot of sharpness, and it's only a third stop, right? You're just barely twisting this to go to 1.4. So you can actually feel it. Like when you don't have to look, you can just feel that it's a quick little click. And at 1.4, it's sharp actually. It's actually sharp enough for film. And more contrast. And the most important thing, it still has the real buttery out of focus bokeh that you're looking for. Okay, which at 1.2 is pretty insane actually. It's beautifully soft, and at 1.4 it's still really good, and then as you go to 2, it firms up a little bit. It's not as pleasing. So, and the cool thing is, of course, when you pair it here with the adapter, you can just zoom in on the focus and you can absolutely nail it every time. Every single time you can nail it if you have enough time. So I know there's a lot of other things. I mean, I think the lens is a little bit warm. A lot of these lenses are kind of warm, right? From these older vintage lenses. It's only, I think, a couple $100 you can pick this up for versus a couple $1,000 for the 50 f1.2. and none of them are probably going to be as sharp as the Z lens anyways. The Z line is like ridiculously sharp. Of course, this has more character. And I thought that it's pretty interesting. So you know, you basically have a really sharp f1.4 lens, and you have the option to go 1.2 and just kind of really just soft, buttery everywhere, and almost like it's in a dream. But you know, it still has some focus. By f2, it's really sharp. 2.8, it's really sharp. You know, I mean, I'll be a pixel peeper, but it doesn't really matter to me. And sharp enough is sharp enough usually. Even at 24 megapixels on the digital or even on the film. I've got film where I'll have it up on the screen, and after they scan it, so I take it to the lab, they scan it, they get it back to me. I think it's something like around 15 megapixel or something like that is the scan. And on my big screen, you know, just one click and you zoom in, you can see all the grain, which is fine, right? Any of those pictures you print 8x10, you can't even tell the difference between them and digital if you shoot it right. As far as the sharpness or the grain, you don't even see it. So it's amazing. I think big monitors and zooming in has kind of ruined things, right? Because I mean, you print it 8x10, and I'm not seeing the grain. I'm just seeing like a beautiful photo if it's done right. Like I said, you shoot portrait, you're not going to see it. Maybe if you blow it up bigger than 8x10. But yeah, this particular lens is super fun. It's a little bit like with kids. It's hard because you gotta get them to slow down a little bit. But I think if you have teenagers, you know, and the girls, they might like that kind of vintage look that it gives. You know, it's hard to get that even with the filters that they'll use on their cameras. And of course, you can put on your mirrorless and then just nail it every single time. But I enjoy it on the camera right here. So and when you put it on, it still feels really nice and like, look at that. It looks amazing. So cool. And it's stubby lens, you know. It's I don't need to give you guys all the specs because you could look it up, but it's a stubby lens, but a chunky lens, and you just feel the craftsmanship once upon a time on how things were made. So anyways, I hope you enjoy that review of the Nikon 55 f1.2 lens. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I didn't spend $2,000 or $3,000 for the 50 f1.2, and I think this is a great substitute for it. And hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you next time.